Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Butt Babes podcast. It's been a very long time. We missed you so much, and we're back.
We're back.
And we're here with new things that we want to talk about, share things with you, and hopefully you can also share some of your ideas and comments and topics that you would want us to talk about as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, remember, hi everybody. Definitely missed you guys quite a bit. I know wherever we went, everyone's like, okay, and then the podcast. We're like, guys, listen, we did a good solid 6, 7 episodes.
And
You
people
know,
need breaks as
people need
well.
breaks. We're pacing ourselves. December happened,
Exactly.
but it's so amazing to be back. Yeah, I'm super, super excited for today's episode, which Michelle will introduce shortly. What are we talking about?
So, what we're talking about today is privileges. And we thought it will be a good idea to kind of break down different privileges into different episodes. And
Mm,
today's episode, we're going to really focus around pretty privilege.
yep.
Okay. So I'm just going to start off by how I understand pretty privilege
Yeah.
is that you obviously look a certain way that could benefit you in certain circumstances,
Mm.
right? In a nutshell, right? And we're just going to elaborate on what we think about it, if we've ever experienced something like that, and what do you guys think? So, yeah.
What do I think pretty privilege is? Um, Look, I think exactly what you were saying now, Charles, in terms of, finding yourself in particular situations or instances where you get treated differently because of just how you aesthetically look. So it's not to necessarily say that you're a nice person or a great person or a kind person, but you just look a particular way and then you just find people falling all over you and being like, whatever you want, whatever you need. Or even making assumptions, good, obviously, in this point, because we're talking about privilege, good and great assumptions. Oh, you'll probably be a diligent, employee or worker because you're so pretty. Or oh no, you can have that for free because you're so pretty.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think I've seen that at play many times. I've had people kind of say that, highlighted in terms of my own experiences, but in that moment, I didn't view it or experience it that way, where I'm like, oh, I don't think I got treated nicely because I'm
You looked a
pretty
certain
or
way,
I
yeah.
look a certain way or I'm dressed a particular way. But obviously, other people from the outside looking in might, experience it or see it that way. Do I think like it's a right or wrong thing or whatever? I don't know. I think it's good to be aware of it and mindful of it, but also like to what extent before it becomes like, are you being like egotistical or
Right.
very self-centered or whatever the case may be. So, yeah.
I think it becomes a little bit difficult where everyone has a different standard of what they think like is pretty and what
Mm,
is their idea of a pretty person physically. Now I'm not talking about personality, I'm talking about physically. This is their type or whatever. And if we look at it in a work setting, say now me and you, right? And our manager says, okay, I'm going to treat Boyce with a little bit more like favoritism because she's pretty, whatever, whatever, she's my type. And you get a little bit more benefits in a work environment type of
mm,
situation, and I don't have the same. So if I go home, I'll feel a certain type of way because
mm,
I'm like, I'm working just as hard, but because I don't look good enough for you, that I don't get those benefits. And it's like a harsh thing to kind of, it's a hard pill to swallow,
definitely.
you know. I do think, and I agree with you, where there's lots of people where they're not aware of the fact that they are using like their pretty privilege.
Mm.
Um,
Or they are privileged because they're pretty.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there are a lot of people out there who don't realize it, and there are other people who take full advantage. They're well aware what they bring to their table. They're well aware with what they're doing and how it may hurt the next person or disadvantage the next person,
Mm,
you
mm.
know?
I mean, as you were saying that, I was just trying to think like what scenarios and instances have I also seen it at play? Like, I mean, you'll see it, and I think more so when I was in varsity. I mean, even now, I'm thinking, um, I was away with like a few friends over the weekend, and obviously we're all beautiful women, in our different ways, in our different shapes, in our different even arrays of skin tones and like hair and all those types of things. But and obviously it depends on who is the person that's experiencing the privileged, being obviously the group of beautiful women. But um, we ultimately got approached. I think, based on like this one very like pretty woman that we were with.
Mm.
What was interesting was that when these people came and approached us and spoke to us, they said, because I'd arrived first, then the one person was like, I actually noticed you when you got there. It's just that when I got there, I had to channel my inner Karen because there was just like situations happening there. Oh, story of just women of color and situations, which I think will also be a very interesting topic in another. Actually, we are
Mm.
going to speak about it from
Yeah,
a privilege perspective because
yeah.
this spoke upon and was very overt in terms of other privileges that other people have. And obviously, being a woman and of color in this dynamic, in this situation, it just, yeah, it highlighted other things. But we digress. This is not about that. So these people approached. And obviously, when they say that they saw me arrive and then like all the other ladies arrived, then it was like, oh my word, there's like an array. Um, but long story short, this person was really insisting on, wanting to find out like what are we eating, what are we, drinking,
Drinking.
and all those
Where are
types
you
of
going
things.
to
Yeah, where we
next?
going? No, we're not going anywhere. We're just chilling here. We had to disconnect. And this person really went out of their way almost the entire weekend to just make sure that we were sorted. And seeking anything in return, well, we don't know. Not that they got anything in return besides great company and like good chuckles and whatever. And the next day they came back, I think, for the great conversation and the great chuckles as well. But like this person went out of their way, and I was like, oh wow. I think one of the ladies even made a joke to say, thanks, man. I guess, we got sorted out this weekend because of,
Because
well,
of them.
this person, and then this person was like, no, actually, this was like all of us. I think because we're really good energies, and these people didn't even think that we had so much substance, and they ended up just having a great time, you know. And I was like,
You know how, and we've spoken about this
yeah,
in previous episodes,
yeah,
that actually you're so cool, or actually
yeah,
you're
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
nice.
yeah.
But anyways, we're going off track, but yeah, sorry. I was just like,
It's
okay.
triggering for Michelle because the actually, and also because I can understand because I've also sat around with people that are very good looking that are like just they dundas like they end up not putting as much effort in personal development and
Mm,
really having sound conversations because they're like, oh well, I just have to sit there and look pretty or look handsome. And on the second night, when these people came back, well, this person specifically came back, they came back with like a younger nephew, who
mm.
again, speaking about pretty privilege, came in very good looking person, and immediately in my brain, I was sitting there going, "Ooh, wow, what a snack! Oh my word!" I was like, "Okay, that's a good looking person, but like, okay,
Like,
that's
what else do you have to offer
yeah,
besides
yeah, like are we
you're
gonna
good
say are
looking?
you just gonna sit here and like hope that like someone's gonna come and like, you know,
Mm.
go at you because now you're going, "Oh, well, I'm handsome,
But
women love me."
instances like that,
Yeah,
it's where I feel like you're good looking
yeah,
and you almost feel like you're entitled to get attention.
yes, definitely. And I think that's what was also off-putting was that there was that
Yes.
sense of I smell good, I look good, you
You can't,
know.
why aren't you talking to
Yeah,
me?
why
You
don't you?
approach me.
Yes, you would be the honored one and whatever. And that for me immediately, like I'm already just going squirrel, Oh, that's a nice song that's
Yeah.
playing in the background because
You
you've
lose
lost me there.
interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier on to say that some people really milk it because they
Yes.
are aware of it,
Yeah.
and then there's some people where, when you are getting those compliments, they're going, oh, wow, thank you so much. Like, that's very kind of you. Some people might even be very like taken aback to be like, really, you think I'm good looking or I'm pretty, I'm handsome, I'm gorgeous, I'm beautiful? So it's,
Mm.
it's quite interesting, the play on that. Or some people that are only discovering
Mm.
that there is like certain people that are really into how they aesthetically look, as
Yes.
opposed to them used to being exposed to like their friends or other family members or their family members and friends that look a particular way, getting all the attention. So when they get the attention, it's like, huh?
Like that seems odd,
It's
kind
very
of a
odd.
thing.
Yeah.
And this might sound like a little cliche, but when someone's just a little bit too arrogant and like too full of themselves, immediately you find them unattractive,
Yeah.
right? And then someone who perhaps is good looking, but they're humble and they're not so like over the top
Mm.
and whatever the case may be, you naturally just feel drawn to them because you're like, wow, like, do you get what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, they're
Yeah.
not,
Like they're confident but humble as well,
yes, like they
you
know who they
know?
are, but they're not out there doing it in front of your face, shoving it in your face and being like, give me attention because I know I look a certain way, or I don't speak to certain people because I look a certain way,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. There's also those.
Yes, 100%. And each to their own. Let me just make that clear.
Disclaimer.
Each to their own. However you want to live your life, it's however you want to live it. And I do
Yeah.
think it also boils down to a little bit of people's standards. Like certain people won't associate themselves with a particular group of people because they don't necessarily meet to your
The
standard.
pretty squad standards.
100%.
Yeah.
And again, each to their own, right? If
Mm.
that's your you and your friend group, go for it. Because
Mm.
we need people like that in this world. So, the world
Yeah.
goes
It's
around.
like an ecosystem.
A hundred
You need a
percent.
little bit of everything. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm not sitting here saying that that is something wrong, but personally, in my opinion, I just don't find that appealing.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't associate myself with people like that.
Yeah.
You will never find me in that group. And if you do see me, it's most likely because I'm walking past, not to walk and sit next to them,
Mm.
you know?
Mm.
And that's just who I am.
Mm. Look, I mean, and not to say that there aren't situations where I guess the pretty privilege might not really save or help a situation. It might. You might be in crisis, and the only reason why a bystander that could help or whatever the case is was because this person looked a particular way that was non-threatening,
Mm.
and they were just like, well, your beauty is actually why I actually listened to you in that moment. I didn't realize that you needed help, and then they'll help you. But then it's also like, again, I loved what you said, Charles, earlier on, in saying that that also just depends on the standards of what pretty is from person to person. Because we might be sitting here going, oh, no, no, like, yeah, we're pretty girls, we're beautiful girls, or whatever the case is. Then people come across us and they're going, no, but like, actually, you're super, super stunning.
Mm.
Love this, love that. Have you realized that, like, you've got great skin, or whatever the case? And you're like,
Mm.
yeah, because I mean, you live with that from a day to day. So you're like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that was a thing, but thank you so much.
Mm.
And then others that are literally like, when they go out on missions to be like, I'm stunning, so we're not paying for anything today, or we're just going to have humans flocking at us and wanting to give us attention. And they should be so, privileged to even have, or honored to have time and, our energy and those types of things. So I think it's something that, do you think it's something that a lot of people are generally aware of, or they only become aware of it when they are in particular situations? Or do you think that people in general aren't?
I think when you start out getting compliments from people telling you, oh my gosh, you're so gorgeous, you're so pretty, let me buy you a drink, or let me pay for this meal,
Mm.
or let me, like, the very beginning, I don't think people are aware of it.
Hmm.
and then they get told it like a couple of times, and then they start feeling like, you know what? It's not just person A and person B. I'm getting the whole place interested in my like physique or how I look and all of that stuff.
Mm,
And then I feel like sometimes it gets to their head a little bit and the arrogance starts coming out where people go out and they like are entitled or they feel they're entitled to certain things because they look a certain way.
mm. Have you noticed or have you ever experienced, as you were saying that, like it's so funny, guys, Michelle, like as she speaks in my brain goes, um, I remember being in a situation once where I had an acquaintance be upset because they were so used to always getting attention. So someone else was getting attention once when we were out. And this person just ended up having a bit of like a mood, aka tantrum, very passively, you know, because again, like, they're normally like the it person
Mm.
at the end of the day.
And
And
now they're
like
not getting that
we
attention.
were in a space where like, yeah, they were noticed. Sure, how's it? That's nice.
Mm.
But like the attention was just flocking to just a different person at that particular point in time, which you could see that they were not used to. And they also, I think in that moment, it also highlighted to be like, oh, so in your eyes, I'm not, that pretty
Pretty.
standard.
Someone else is pretty, yeah.
Someone else is prettier, or you deem yourself prettier than like the
Mm.
rest of, the people that are there with you, or that other person that's getting even more attention. So you're a bit startled. I don't know, have you ever kind of seen dynamics like that from the outside in, or even within a certain space?
I've heard stories like that
Yeah.
where like someone is a little bit jealous that another person is getting more attention. For me, I think it's super childish.
Mm,
It boils down to the fact that you are literally falling into what you think is the beauty standard of what society makes it out to be,
mm,
where we've come such a far way in our generation right now where
mm,
we've tried to highlight that everyone is beautiful in their own way
mm.
and that everyone is attracted to different things.
Yes.
I don't think there's a beauty standard anymore. It's
Mm.
what the people around you find attractive and we're talking about physical stuff. We're not talking
Yes.
about
Yes.
personality, whatever.
Personality, your mind and all of those things, no?
What you might find good looking and handsome might not be the same for me, but I still respect your opinion
Yeah.
and what you find attractive, right? Vice versa, same thing.
Mm,
So when people like this feel jealous that, oh, so you're giving her more attention because she's actually prettier than me, that's already fault number one. You
mm.
need to do some healing. You need to go figure yourself out. Like, stop your
Yeah.
beep,
Yeah.
Do you get
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just how I feel about the situation.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not like something you wake up and you get over. Like Rome wasn't built in a day.
Mm.
And especially if someone has been getting attention all the time and now
Yeah.
they don't get attention, it will knock them down. Fair. There's a corner there. Go deal with your feelings. Come back when you act right.
And then some people end up just like working you out the group dynamics. Look, I have a friend that was part of like this group of friends, right? And I honestly feel like what happened within that dynamic is that, look, this friend of mine she's absolutely stunning, in her own right. And I think even the group of friends were also very stunning in their own right. Again, different strokes for different folks. But obviously there's like that little bit of a je ne sais quoi, that like there's that extra thing about this particular person. Not to say that the other group or former group members didn't have that thing of their own, but this person is absolutely stunning, and obviously they are in that dynamic, so I don't think they would have naturally kind of saw it that way. But the minute like I kind of spent a little bit of time with her and her friends and got to know the different personalities, I was like, look, the issue, because now they all of them are no longer friends and things, but looking from the outside in, I was like, look, you were great from a group dynamic because you added in like the sugar and spice and all things nice, but just your demeanor and just your inner beauty that now matches the external beauty now became a problem. Because even when, you know, she would go out with these friends and whatever the case is, I'm sure she would have double takes and whatever. And the mere fact that, you know, she's got a bit of a like a stern face and like no nonsense kind of energy and vibes, people sometimes tend to like that, to be like, we're intrigued, like you're a dope person, you know. And I think they ended up just kind of like isolating her, I think, because of just the beautiful person that she is. And obviously, and not as superficial as the rest of them, because all of them, it was just about aesthetics, looking a particular way. Oh my gosh, like, I'm alright, let's like, you know, move like this. I'm alright, slay like this, da 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 da. Nothing wrong if certain squads do that, guys. Flourish, live your best life. But I feel like the pretty privilege then became a bit of an issue there, because when you are dealing with someone that is so pretty and beautiful, but also very comfortable within themselves and comfortable even within their insecurities and knowing where they lack, and the rest of the squad isn't, you know, they're gonna end up kind of othering to be like, oh, but this person never has problems, or like this person maybe doesn't even care, whatever. But yeah, but I honestly feel like it came down to like, this person is super stunning, and even when we go out without her, people are always asking about her and like, oh, well, she's so pretty, da 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 da, and she was not bothered about like
Yeah,
those things. You know what I mean? So I've also kind of seen that just kind of happen. You know, people just being cut out because, and then if you had to ask them what happened, they'd be like, oh, we don't know. I guess we just dwindled off, and I'm like, no, because the pretty privileged standards were probably not
different.
balanced. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I do think, number one, those aren't her friends. Like, that's not her nucleus
Mm,
people. If that's what bothered you the most about the person, thank goodness she's not friends with them. And that she figured out there and then and they drifted apart, whatever the case may be, because I wouldn't want friends like that either.
mm.
The other thing is people need to understand right now that yes, you may be pretty and you're gorgeous or handsome, whatever the case may be, but being physically pretty is not enough, right? Perhaps you can get it to get a deal signed, okay? That's cool. Perhaps whatever, but if you're looking for a relationship or
Yeah.
trying to build a friendship or something deeper
Uh,
than a superficial contract, pretty privilege is not going to get you anywhere.
no.
So, I mean, use what you have to get what you need to get done.
Yeah.
Fair point. But if you are asking yourself, why am I not getting certain things or certain relationships or whatever?
Check your privilege.
Yes. And see how you're using it, number one.
Mm,
Okay. If you really thinking, like we're talking about a relationship right now,
mm.
if you think pretty privilege is going to get you your dream man, oh my God, go to therapy. Like, no, babes, it's no, no. That's just my opinion. I don't think it works that way. And there's pros and cons to pretty
There
privilege.
is pros and cons, like to anything else, you know. And my thing is that we forget that people change, people evolve, people grow. And then
100%.
what happens when that privilege, that pretty privilege, happens to be taken away? Unfortunately,
So what
in,
now?
yeah, you know, that person gets into an accident, or that person goes through something, and they're not as pretty as they were when you met them. So what does that mean? Like, you
And
know,
I think pretty privilege starts fading away um, very quickly because I think it's also very closely linked to your personality. So you
mm,
might be this gorgeous girl or handsome man, and as soon as you open your mouth, it's like you've just lost your points.
mm,
Negative points are starting to kick in, right?
mm,
Then what was once a pretty person, we don't see you as that anymore, and the privilege is then gone.
mm.
So what I'm also trying to say is you can't also just rely on just like pretty privilege and think you can get away with this and get this done and whatever. Because if at the end of the day you have a horrible personality, you're still not going to get the privilege,
Yeah.
you know? But we will also speak about other different privileges in the other
Yes.
episodes
Yes.
because there's a lot.
There is quite a bit. I think when Michelle kind of popped through. So, as most of you guys know, that we don't pre-discuss the topics, which I think makes it more conversational for us. So normally, like like a day like today, we'll get together literally within the first 5-10 minutes. All right, what topics were you thinking? Did you have anything in mind? What did you have in mind? And then we'll go through them. And like pretty privilege was what came up. And then I was like, hang on, there's actually so many other privileges, like gender privilege, male and female, or fluidity, or whatever the case may be. Actually, now it becomes a bit more diverse and more interesting. Um,
Racial.
Racial privilege, that ethnicity, which again, I think that also added a little bit to my story from this past weekend, but we'll chat about that. So just unpacking a little bit of that, and I think it's also just to raise a little bit of like self-awareness and yeah, a bit of awareness around that. Check your privilege. There's even like education and background privilege. Like there's so many things that people don't
Yeah,
realize is privilege, and a lot of us then speak from a privileged perspective, keeping in mind that, oh, but that's not an everybody thing, or
exactly.
that's not everyone's experience of coming from this background or not coming from this background. So yeah, I thought
I
that was quite dope. Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
And like you said, I feel like a lot of us are unaware
Of
of
our privilege.
yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's like take these episodes as just being a little bit more aware of it. That's the end goal of this. And yeah,
Looking forward to going into the next privilege
yeah, stay
episode.
tuned.
Yes.
See you there.
Awesome. Before we go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, please. And I think there's many of you that actually watch our our podcast, but like again, like you'll either direct message us on WhatsApp if you know us personally, or on our socials. Please comment on the comment section. Share clips. Happy for you guys to like video record some of the clips that you find interesting, post it out there. Look, it's all in the name of just good conversations and good fun and good energies.
Exactly.
So yeah,
We'll catch you the next time.
absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.